We met at a winter fundraising gala in downtown San Francisco, both pretending we belonged among polished glass smiles. She wore a silver dress that looked like starlight stretched into fabric, and I remember thinking I had never seen someone glow quite like that. She laughed at my awkward joke about the violinist playing too dramatically, and somehow that small sound anchored itself into me. We talked for hours in a corner near the coat check, ignoring everyone else, like the world shrank, until it was just two people learning each other breath by breath. We shared stories about family, childhood dreams, and stupid college mistakes we swore we would never repeat but probably would. When I walked her to her car, she hugged me like we had known each other longer than a single night. She texted me before I even reached home, telling me she felt something rare, and I believed her without hesitation. Our first date was coffee that turned into lunch, then a walk along the Embarcadero, then sitting by the water until the sky dimmed. She held my hand like it was natural, like she already decided I belonged there. Soon weekends were ours, and weekdays blended into anticipation, messages, phone calls, and shared playlists we made just for long evenings. We explored Napa, Carmel, Lake Tahoe, every trip filled with inside jokes, messy selfies, and promises whispered into warm pillows. I learned she loved lavender tea, rainy mornings, and old French movies, even though she never finished them without falling asleep. She learned I hated small talk, adored late-night coding marathons, and secretly listened to love songs more often than I admitted. She told me no one had ever made her feel so safe, so seen, so deeply understood, and I wore those words like armor and pride. Her friends smiled at us like we were annoyingly perfect, the couple everyone assumed would end up married without question. My mom adored her, and even my best friend, who trusts no one, said she seemed different from every girl I had dated before. We built little traditions: Friday takeout, Sunday morning pancakes, movie marathons where she always chose romance and I always pretended to protest. She surprised me with handwritten notes on days she knew I was tired, and I surprised her with small weekend trips just because I could. There were no dramatic fights, no uneasy silences, just comfort wrapped in laughter and familiarity. I remember thinking, if love had a physical form, it would look like her curled up on my couch, wearing my hoodie and smiling at nothing. I had never pictured growing old with anyone before her, but suddenly I could see gray hair, slow mornings, and shared memories stretching decades long. So I worked harder, saved more, planned secretly, imagined the moment I would kneel in Paris with the city sparkling behind us. I spent months choosing a ring, matching her taste, imagining her tears, imagining that forever could truly be ours. Every time she looked at me with those soft eyes, I felt lucky, chosen, wanted. I never considered that love could be one-sided, even when it felt mutual, or that devotion could be borrowed instead of real. I thought trust was enough. I thought effort made love indestructible. I thought she was waiting for the same future I was building. I thought she meant every promise she whispered against my shoulder. I thought wrong. It didn't fall apart all at once. It started quietly, in tiny cracks I pretended not to see. Lauren's phone began living face down, like gravity suddenly changed its rules. She used to toss it anywhere, careless and open, the way trust feels. Now it was glued to her hand or hidden in her purse, zipped like a vault. I asked once, jokingly, and she laughed too quickly, the kind of laugh that covers panic. She told me privacy mattered, and I agreed, because good people always try to be understanding. Then came the late nights at work, sudden and frequent, always deadlines and crunch time. But she stopped sending tired selfies from the office, stopped complaining about her coworkers, stopped sharing anything at all. And every time I offered to bring her dinner or coffee, she refused like I was intruding instead of caring. Her hugs changed too. They used to feel like relief. Now they felt like obligation wrapped in perfume. She kissed me like she was remembering how rather than wanting to. Conversations shrank into routine lines. How was work? Fine. You tired? Yeah. She smiled less, but only when she was looking at me. When she looked at her phone, her whole face lit up in a different language of joy. She started going to the gym more, suddenly dedicated, always evenings, always alone. I offered to join once, thinking it was caring, not realizing she would hear it as control. She said she needed space, and I believed her because love shouldn't suffocate. But I didn't realize I was the one being pushed out so someone else could breathe. Then there were the mentions of him. Adam. A name from her past that returned like a song she claimed she didn't remember, but hummed unconsciously. He just messaged. He liked her post. He was doing great in New York. I nodded, pretending maturity, pretending trust was enough to protect me. She called me secure once, and I wore it like a badge instead of realizing I was being measured against someone else. Some evenings, she scrolled her phone smiling, eyes soft in a way I hadn't seen directed at me lately. When I walked into the room, her screen would disappear, brightness swallowed, conversation erased. I didn't ask questions. I told myself love required patience, not suspicion. But suspicion lives in the quiet moments, breathing in the spaces where comfort used to sit. Sleep changed too. She rolled away at night, edging to her side like closeness was too heavy to carry. And I lay there, staring at the ceiling, counting the seconds between the vibration of her phone and her silent smile in the dark. I started making excuses for her in my head, excuses that sounded noble, but were really fear disguised as loyalty. People grow, I told myself. Relationships shift. Stress changes behavior. But sometimes stress isn't the reason someone pulls away. Sometimes they're just holding someone else closer. Friends noticed before I let myself see it. My best friend asked if we were okay, said she seemed distant, distracted, somewhere else entirely. I defended her like she needed protection from truth. I defended us like we were sacred. But sacred things do not tremble like that. And love does not hide behind passwords and late-night grins meant for someone else. I still believed we were solid. I still believed loyalty mattered. I still believed effort could hold everything together. But belief means nothing when the other person stopped believing long before you ever knew there was danger. It happened on a quiet Saturday morning, the kind where nothing should hurt. I was at the gym, earbuds in. World simple and predictable for one last moment. Lauren had said she was grabbing brunch with friends, laughing as she kissed my cheek goodbye. I felt proud of us then, proud of how stable we looked from the outside. And then my smartwatch buzzed. Just a normal vibration. Just another small, harmless thing. Until I saw her name, and a preview no boyfriend should ever read. 2 more weeks in Paris is ours. I can't wait to finally be with you again. I froze mid-rep, chest tight, arms shaking, breath gone like someone punched it out of me. There was a heart emoji beside the message. And it wasn't sent to me. His name appeared beneath. Adam. A name I once tolerated, because trust felt easier than paranoia. Another buzz. Then another. My boyfriend leaves early. 2 days alone together, just like we dreamed. My vision blurred, disbelief clawing at my brain like it refused to process betrayal. I scrolled, hands trembling so hard I nearly dropped the weights. Screenshot notifications. Plans. Flights. Laughter at my expense. He still has no idea. Poor guy thinks he's proposing. My heart cracked open right there between strangers lifting dumbbells. Sweat mixed with something sour, something like grief, something like rage. I sat down on the bench, unable to move, afraid if I stood I might break something or scream. Don't worry, he's paying for everything. Paris hotel dinners, perfect setup. Perfect setup. For them. For me to be the fool. Her words repeated in my skull like cruel echoes, sharper each time. Adam replied with smug certainty. He must be blind, but hey, his loss. I imagined them smirking, hands texting fast, bodies leaning into devices the way lovers lean into each other. The gym felt too bright, too loud, too normal to contain the collapse happening inside my ribcage. I wanted to vomit. I wanted to vanish. I wanted this to be a nightmare, not a notification feed. I scrolled back weeks. More messages. Memories disguised as lies. I'll be free soon. I just have to get through the trip. Get through the trip. The trip I saved for. Planned for. Dreamed about. Planned proposal. Planned humiliation. I realized then betrayal doesn't scream. It whispers into a device you paid for. I walked to the locker room like a ghost, face emotionless, body shaking. I sat on a cold tile bench, staring at my reflection in the metal of a locker. I did not recognize the man staring back. His eyes looked like someone who trusted too hard and paid too much for hope. For hours I read every thread, every joke, every heart emoji stabbing like a blade. Each message was proof that love had been leaking out quietly, while I held on blindly. When my phone buzzed with her innocent, "How's your workout? Miss you red," I almost laughed. Miss you. Even as she planned to replace me, the moment I stepped onto a plane home. In that moment, something inside me hardened. The softness I carried for her crystallized into something colder, sharper, unbreakable. I realized I wasn't the man she saw me as. I wasn't weak. I wasn't blind. I wasn't done yet. If she wanted a performance, she would get one. And I would play my role so perfectly, she'd never see the ending coming. I left the gym with a heartbeat that wasn't mine anymore. It felt mechanical, steady, controlled, like my emotions crawled into a steel box and locked themselves inside. Pain shifted into precision. Shock into strategy. I didn't cry. I didn't confront. I didn't collapse the way betrayal expects you to. Instead, I started planning. Not revenge driven by rage, but justice built from clarity. If she wanted to play games, she picked the wrong opponent. I am calm when things fall apart. I build systems. I fix broken logic. And this was the most personal bug I had ever debugged. I drove home in silence, staring at the road like it was a chessboard. By the time I parked, I already had 3 strategies, 10 contingencies, and no mercy left in my bloodstream. First step was information. I opened her laptop while she showered later that night, typing our anniversary date like unlocking irony. Her messages, emails, calendar, everything unfolded like a confession. Flight confirmations. Hotel reminders. Messages, dripping with excitement for a future I wasn't invited to. I screenshot everything, saved it, printed copies, made a digital backup labeled truth. Then I booked a one-way flight for Adam. Not to Paris. To Lisbon. A beautifully inconvenient detour. I wrote him an email pretending to be her, with just enough affection and urgency to mimic her tone. He responded in 6 minutes. Love really makes fools fast. Next, I called the hotel in Paris and adjusted the reservation. My stay unchanged, hers cut short. I didn't cancel anything. I didn't expose anything. I simply moved chess pieces. I changed her return flight as well, shifting it quietly to match mine, but with a miserable layover that would make her question fade itself. All confirmations routed to junk folders she never checked. Convenient coincidences, airline glitches, travel mix-ups. Everything believable. Everything legal. Everything devastating. Then I tested my mask, the smile I'd wear. I practiced greetings, practiced warmth, practiced being the boyfriend she thought she fooled. I held her hand that night while we watched a show, and she leaned her head on my shoulder like loyalty meant nothing to her bones. I wondered how many times she rehearsed lies in her mirror. I wondered if she ever felt even an ounce of guilt. I wondered if she would still sleep peacefully, if she knew I was watching truth crawl out of her. She whispered, "I love you," and I whispered it back, tasting the ending like sharp metal. For a week, I played perfect. I kissed her forehead each morning, made her coffee the way she liked, smiled when she mentioned Paris with stars in her eyes. She never noticed I stopped looking at her with hope. She never noticed my silence wasn't tenderness, but calculation. Revenge isn't loud. It isn't messy. It is quiet, methodical, and patient. And in the stillness of that week, I learned the most powerful lesson betrayal can teach. You do not destroy a liar by exposing them. You let them walk into the truth they built for themselves, brick by brick, lie by lie, until the walls collapse. And when they look for someone to save them, you're already gone. Paris looked like a dream, but dreams can rot under the right light. We arrived hand in hand, luggage rolling, hearts pretending to beat in sync. She leaned on my shoulder in the taxi, whispering how excited she was, how magical this week would be. I nodded, feeling the weight of every lie she didn't know I already held. The city welcomed us with soft rain, street musicians, warm bread smells. And I almost believed, for one dangerous second, that none of this had happened. But truth doesn't evaporate. It waits. We checked in at the boutique hotel, the one I spent months choosing, imagining our engagement photos on the balcony. She kissed me in the elevator, slow and sweet, like she was auditioning for sincerity. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled away too fast. I didn't react. Pretending was my new talent. We toured the Louvre, stood before the Mona Lisa, drank overpriced cappuccinos near the Seine. She took photos of us, filters and soft smiles, posting captions about love and gratitude. Meanwhile, her notifications flashed on my wrist like cruel subtitles. If he leaves early tomorrow, we have 48 hours together. Paris won't feel real without you. My jaw tightened, but my face didn't move. She pointed at the Eiffel Tower, eyes sparkling. I imagined kneeling. I imagined offering her forever. I imagined her texting him, under the table celebrating how gullible I was. That fantasy died quietly, like the last spark of a match. Night fell, gold light over cobblestones, and she kissed me like we were strangers discovering passion. I wondered who she imagined when she closed her eyes. The next morning, I packed like a man going home, not a man abandoning a dream. We ate croissants she barely touched because she kept checking her phone. She kept fixing her hair, her lipstick, like preparing for a second boyfriend was normal. She hugged me at the hotel entrance, clinging, voice shaky from excitement disguised as sadness. "Call me when you land," she whispered. I smiled gently. "I will." I walked away without looking back. In the airport car, my watch buzzed. She texted him instantly. "He's gone. I'm shaking. Get here fast." Then silence. Then chaos. A message from him. "Why did you book me to Lisbon? What's happening?" Her typing stopped mid-sentence in the message thread I watched. She rushed to the hotel desk, panic bleeding into her voice. They informed her room ended that day, not in 3 days. Her texts arrived frantic, spiraling. "What happened? The hotel says I need to check out today. Why is his flight changed? Adam can't get here. Why isn't he answering?" I lifted my champagne flute in the lounge, toasting my own heartbreak one last time. Back in the city, she dragged her luggage to the curb, mascara smudged, calling me over and over. Blocked calls echo in empty space. Meanwhile, Adam realized, messaging again. "He knows I'm done. Don't contact me." Her perfect trip crumbled like wet paper. No Eiffel Tower fantasies. No secret reunion. Just empty sidewalks and cold panic rushing through her veins. Paris remained beautiful. She didn't. On the flight, I stared at clouds and felt nothing but steady breath. I didn't need to watch her world fall. I had already seen enough. She landed 6 hours after me, worn down by layovers, fear, and the weight of her own choices. I was already home, lights low, suitcase empty, whiskey poured like closure in a glass. My phone buzzed nonstop, but silence felt cleaner than any answer I could give. She called again and again, then switched to pleading texts, as if desperation could erase truth. I don't know what happened. Please talk to me. I think someone messed with the flights. I'm scared. The irony nearly made me laugh. Fear only hurts when you have something to lose. She arrived at my apartment before sunrise, hair frizzy, eyes swollen, suitcase still half open from panic packing. She buzzed the door like the world owed her entrance. I watched from behind the curtain as she paced, hugging herself like the cold outside could swallow her. She whispered my name into the intercom, voice shaking like confession too late to matter. Eventually she left, only to return 2 hours later, knocking softly this time, like gentleness could reset fate. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Some betrayals deserve silence more than screaming. When she finally texted, "Just tell me why," I sent one message and nothing else. "I know everything, don't come back." Then I blocked her across every space she used to occupy in my life. No explanation. No dramatic speech. Truth was its own sentence. She tried friends next. One of her coworkers messaged me, claiming misunderstanding, claiming we should talk like adults. I ignored him. Her best friend called, furious, accusing me of being childish. I told her to ask Lauren about Adam and Paris. The line went quiet like grief. Then she whispered, "Oh," and hung up. Lauren sent emails from new accounts, paragraphs begging for forgiveness, for a chance to explain, for one last conversation. She swore nothing physical happened. She swore she was confused, needed space, needed clarity. She swore she loved me most. Funny how people rewrite timelines when consequences arrive. I printed a response I never sent. You didn't cheat with your body first. You cheated with your loyalty, and that's worse. Instead, I packed her things, folded her sweaters, removed her perfume from my bathroom, wiped her fingerprints off my life. A courier dropped the boxes at her door. No note. No goodbye. Clean exits are sharper than broken words. She posted vague quotes on social media. Growth, loss, healing, every caption a bandage for wounds she created herself. Friends picked sides. Some called me cold. Some called me brilliant. I didn't care for applause or judgment. Revenge wasn't the win. Freedom was. I returned the ring, felt weight leave my pocket and my chest at the same time. I walked home lighter, breathing deeper, as if betrayal had been smoke and I was stepping into fresh air. Sometimes love ends quietly. Sometimes it ends like a building collapsing. Ours ended like a clean blade, swift, precise, final. I didn't ruin her life. She just finally had to live in the one she built. And I walked away knowing I saved the best parts of myself for someone who wouldn't treat trust like a disposable gift. When someone shows you their truth, believe them. And when they lose you, let them feel every inch of the emptiness they created. That is not cruelty. That is closure. Weeks passed like quiet waves, smoothing over broken glass. Her messages faded into silence, replaced by nothing but echoes. I stopped checking her social media, stopped wondering if she cried, stopped caring who she became without me. Healing wasn't loud. It came slowly, like sunlight creeping across a cold room at dawn. Friends asked if I missed her. I didn't lie. I missed who I thought she was, not who she showed herself to be. Love doesn't vanish. It transforms into wisdom, into sharper instincts, into softer boundaries with yourself. I learned that loyalty is not measured by how tightly you hold on, but by knowing when to let go. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is leave quietly and build a life where betrayal has no place to breathe. One evening I walked by the bay, watching lights shimmer across the water, feeling peaceful instead of wounded. I realized closure isn't given by the person who hurt you. Closure is choosing not to reopen doors that were never meant to stay unlocked. She became a lesson, not a loss. And I became someone who knows his worth without needing anyone to confirm it.